All right, welcome back, Dina. Thank you so much for coming back to do episode 2. And we are talking about the hero's journey and a journey within ourselves. This could be in the context of your coaching, which is life vision and career direction, or it could be some inner process that people go through. What I love about the nature of your work is that it so really makes such a lot of sense to the kind of work that I do and to what it's like for people as they move beyond trauma. Mm-hmm. So would you like to just introduce yourself again a little bit and then just take us on to the next step?
Yes, so for any new listeners, my name is Dina. I'm a life and career coach, and I coach on career clarity, which encompasses career change, but it also could just be making a plan for how you're going to move forward and what other things that you want to change in life. And also work with self-employed creatives and small business owners, and that's coaching themselves, coaching their mindset, coaching relationships, anything else, coaching them on life really, so that they can show up better in life and in their business. That's me. And yeah, the hero's journey. So where have we been? Mm-hmm. We have, in the last episode, we spoke about Joseph Campbell and how he, spotted the hero's journey, how he had questions that were answered with Jung and individuation, the process of kind of self-actualizing. And then we started on the first, I think, 4 or 5 steps. So we saw our hero and ourselves in the ordinary world. And then we discussed the call to adventure, so how it comes to us, and like we said, not as bright. In the films, it comes to us in a bright way. And in real life, it can be masqueraded. It could be just a dull, cold boredom, but it does come and it will keep on coming, even if you refuse the call. And we all refuse it because of fear, obviously. And that's step 3. And step 4 is meeting the mentor. And we discussed how you don't do it alone. Every hero has help, and not just one, across the road. And then I think that's kind of where we got to. So we were talking about then crossing the threshold and basically deciding, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go into what special world of this, the unknown, basically.
Do you? It's really interesting. In the cycle, then you meet the mentors and guides kind of before you cross the threshold. Yeah. I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
So just to help you over that. So I mean, it's a fine line, because if we think about the Matrix. First with Neo, the call comes and he then refuses this, but then he takes it and he actually is in, he unplugs from the Matrix and goes into, well, actually, no.
Because he meets Morpheus first. Yeah.
He meets Morpheus first. Yeah. And then, so they're everywhere, I think. Yeah, you always meet them before. I think it's only Q. No, I think you meet them before.
Yeah.
You meet the mentor, and then Morpheus is one of my favorite mentors. He was, he's just so, you can see exactly his role. He's just calm, and he gives Neo kind of faith and says, go on, you can do this. And he equips him with physical skills, but then also kind of empowers him for the final kind of transformation that he has in the film as well.
And that's someone who believes in you.
Yeah.
That seems to be a thing that I'm picking up from it. It's like, it's because you're like gaily, or not gaily, you're setting off on your adventure. And a mentor in trauma-informed coaching, we talk about the concept of expert companion, because the companion can show up in so many different ways. It could just be someone who's been through what you've been through. It could be a mum on the carers app. It could be a wide range of people that suddenly kind of show up in your life, and they can see you for who you really are, rather than for the drama you've been through or the thing you're trying to go through, but just see you and believe in you. They know you can do it.
And it's someone that's not usually part of your world. That's also something key, because like you said, someone who can see you and maybe your potential as well. Obviously friends and family, they're good as cheerleaders, but they're not the ones that are going to be usually the catalyst for change. So it is usually someone new that believes in you. And I think like a lot of my clients have had that. They've had a mentor along the way who believed in them or gave them a chance, at work specifically as well. But then, it comes when you need someone outside of your environment, someone completely different, and with an unbiased opinion, who can just tell it to you straight. Yeah.
So tell me about crossing the threshold then. How might I can get it in terms of a story, or maybe start with what it's like in a story, because I'm wondering what it feels like. How would I know I'm crossing a threshold?
Well, it's the commitment to change. So it is internal, and it's a commitment to change. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. So outside, nothing can, physically change. You're not, you don't necessarily have to go off on a retreat or go off to school or anything else like that. You can still show up for your work and all of that, but you've made a commitment to change. So you're going to say, I'm going to go on this journey. So it is not as much indecisiveness, not back and forth. Should I do it? Should I not? Should I do? So when you work with someone, then you're like, okay. So with my clients, obviously they're wondering by themselves. They're wondering what to do. Do they stay? Do they go? Do they make a change now? They're going round in circles. And then when they come to work with me, they already know, okay, I'm committed to change because we're going to be working together for a number of months. And so I'm going to do the work and then see what happens from there.
Well, I get it. Thank you.
And yeah, so then the journey begins. The journey is on as soon as you've committed to change, and then off you go. So step 6, then this isn't really a step. This is who you meet on the journey. It's tests, allies, and enemies, and like you can think of the Wizard of Oz when they are literally on a path, and just people spring up, situations spring up. Some test them, some become friends, and then some enemies. So that is, as we are with anything, particularly with my clients who leave or are thinking of leaving the employed world and going into self-employment or freelancing. That is, when they will have people who refer them, or peers, or someone they can talk to. Maybe they'll join a membership. And I joke with the enemies is just a client that pays invoices late or ghosts you or doesn't show up, and those enemies, they will test you, but they will then mean that you have to assert your boundaries, and you can then have to make policies within your business and decide what you're going to do. And those tests come to you so that you keep on growing. That is the key. At this point, I will also talk, there's a quote, let me see if I can get it, but yeah, there's a quote that Campbell says, and he says about this journey in a whole, but he goes, being conscious of the journey is what marks the hero from the blind wanderer. And so how I illuminate that is I give examples of 2 people. So say Sam and Tom. Okay, Sam knows about the hero's journey. Tom doesn't. And Sam and Tom are both in the same position. They're at work, they're at job, and they don't like it. They've outgrown it. They need to change. So Sam knows about the hero's journey. So she is recognizing that she's got this call to adventure. So I'm outgrown it. Something in me saying I need change. Because she knows about the journey, she knows that the feeling that she's feeling is, the refusal is fear. She knows she's just really scared and she can't do it alone. So she looks for a mentor, or, joins a membership, a club, or gets a coach, gets a therapist, something. She knows the next step is to ask for help. And then working with the mentor, she prepares and then leaves her job. Maybe she has a plan, maybe she leaves, in stages, but she leaves. And she knows the next step isn't, rainbows and daisies. It's tests and enemies, and there's still growth to happen. But because she knows that's the next step, because whatever, say, the first test is, like someone asks for a refund, one of her first clients asks for a refund, she knows that's part of the test. And so she's like, okay, that's it, and keeps on going. Tom, on the other hand, does not know about the hero's journey. He gets that call and doesn't answer it because he always feels the fear and stays there and thinks maybe the fear is a sign that he shouldn't go. And then he's in that fear and then reads the newspaper and it's like, now's not a good time to go. But then it's never a good time to go, really, is it? So he's in that fear, and then maybe something happens, which is he gets made redundant. So then he's kind of pushed out into the special world. And now he thinks he needs to do it himself. Like, okay, I've got to just, he's probably in survival mode, or isn't aware that the next step is meeting the mentor and that he should ask for help. So then he's in the special world, and he's also gone freelancing. And then he gets that enemy or that test, and it's a client that asks for his money back. And then he thinks, this is a sign I'm not meant for this. Oh my God, okay, I'm not meant to be a freelancer at all. And then he retreats back into the ordinary world. He gets a job again and stays there. So this is the difference between just knowing the journey, and those steps kind of helps you identify things as just a test and not a sign that you should give up in a minute.
Wow. I love that. And when Jung identified this through his work, this knowledge that humans, having spent so long, you talk about it more in depth in episode 1, but where humans we spend quite a long time in the home on some shape or other, learning from adults in one way or another, and eventually you have to start doing things on your own, however that shows up. And there's a sense of leaving what you knew, and like the safe, even if it wasn't that safe, but it was familiar, the surroundings that were around you at that time. So is that where this like the Tom who wasn't feeling prepared, like wasn't really ready to, and we laugh, we've laughed about the idea of ready, like, because you're never ready. And could that be part of Tom's cycle of, like, as he went back, reverted to where he was at, regrouped himself, and then faced the challenge again, because like the cycle comes around. This time he's more aware. Next time he gets a refund request, and he goes, "Oh, hang on a minute. Last time I let that stop me." Even though you're saying one's aware of the hero's journey and one isn't, or in fact, are we kind of all on it anyway?
Yes. Yeah. No. We're all on it anyway. And Tom eventually, doesn't matter how many cycles it takes, he will eventually see himself out naturally. It's just what Joseph Campbell's saying is, when you know the hero's journey, you can really help shorten that journey in a way and take away the angst as well. Because you're totally right, it's just a new environment that we don't know about, which is where the mentor really helps, because they know about that environment, and they can say, it's totally, it's absolutely fine. And they kind of calm you down about these things.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
So off we trot. On to, so then step 7 is approach to the inmost cave. So you're on your journey, as you can, picture any hero movie you like. You're on your journey, and then there'll be the ordeal, the big one, and that is you're confronting something big. So again, going into the belly of the whale, and this can be something that's been there from childhood, something else like that. It's a big ordeal that you are confronting, and it manifests in different ways. So there's clients I work with, and just fresh from a client to them, that's why I'm using a perfectionist example, but perfectionism is there for a while. It's always there from the beginning, and it serves you. You do high quality work, you get praised or something, but there will come a time, and this is usually around the ordeal, when it stops serving you, and you have to confront the origins and the roots of perfectionism. Like with a client that I'm working with now, who's got a small business owner, and he's burnt out because it takes a lot to maintain that perfectionism, and so this is his ordeal, which I'm recognizing. He's got to that peak where it's like, okay, we're going to have to confront this, and work with this and the situation to kind of change again. And then after the ordeal, number 8, you go to the reward and sealing the sword. So you get that reward of like, almost like a relief, like an exhale. Okay, that was the thing that was, causing me grief, or causing me to keep on getting stuck as well.
So the ordeal in terms of our work as coaches, then often the inmost cave, like the deepest subconscious kind of place where it was scary to go there in the first place, but somehow or other you've ended up facing this part of you that you really didn't know was there. There's other parts of you can be quite afraid of it. It holds power or darkness or shadow or something that we're unfamiliar with, that we don't like about ourselves. Like it's got a lot of this kind of darker energy around it, in that, like, that's what I'm feeling like when you describe it as a cave, like a dark underworld, deep place.
Yeah, he does describe it as a cave. He goes to the inmost cave. But you know what? Just as we were talking now, kind of, and me and you both were really big fans of IFS, internal family systems. And it kind of makes me think like the first ones you get through, the protectors, the managers, and then you get into, it could just be, the inner child that needs to be spoken to, or needs attention, creativity needs to be released, or something like that. So it can be kind of, it doesn't have to be all darkness. It's just scary approaching the cave, but in the cave is treasure sometimes, and that's pretty light.
No, I was thinking similarly, like with the internal family systems model, which is where our protectors step forward usually as some kind of managerial role, and they're really effective at helping us, but what they're actually doing is protecting a part of us from the past that has been exiled off in a way, because it was the tiny child on the playground that couldn't cope or whatever. It's the moment of overwhelm, and that actually can be quite frightening when the other protectors think, oh no, don't go and talk to her, she will completely lose it, she'll bring us down into a blubbering, sobbing wreck, and or whatever. We fear that collapse of when we get into contact with that much pain that is inside all of us, locked away in these various different places. So yes, going to face that in the cave, like discovering that it's there, but then the magic in internal family systems is of actually going to retrieve, to heal, to recover, to make good some of those wounds in the past. And there's so much magic along that way. I can say magic, I mean, people, it's quite hard psychological work, but what you're doing is such relief, because that part of you never wanted to be shut away into the exiled past in the first place, and has always been dying to get out, and other protectors have all been trying to keep it there in case something terrible happens. And there's such a relief, such a return of energy to the system.
Absolutely. I mean, we both kind of use the IFS tools in our coaching, and like when we're using it with clients, like it's usually you use it when like there's emotion that comes up, and like you can already sense that they've got like a lump in their throat or something else like that, and then we just you go there just to feel the feelings. And that's the thing, our society is just so scared of feeling feelings, because we think once I cry, that's it, I'm not going to stop for years, like push that emotion down. And then just that relief of just noticing the lump in the throat and letting it be, and then and then crying. But then afterwards, like you said, is just you can see just a whole energy shift, and someone's just unlocked a whole part and they feel lighter. And so after the ordeal, you get that reward of like, wow, something's just shifted.
And this is part of the return then. So you've come through, you faced what you thought was so terrifying, and overcome it, like you got out the other side. Tell me more about that part then.
So then starts the journey back. So you have had the main transformation. There is another 11, step 11 is the resurrection, when you're already coming back. And that's sometimes there, sometimes not. In films, you'll know in films when the big ordeals happened, and then you're like, okay, that's over. And then noticing that the film's continuing, you're like, there's something about to happen. And then suddenly like, oh no, the evil person,
the Terminator gets back up again, or that
resurrection. So that happens, that sometimes happens, that doesn't in real life. But the road back, essentially what happens is, and one good way is, well, say coaches, and we've done this with anyone self-employed, or like I can use me. So for example, I have had that kind of that awakening where I'm like, oh, I wasn't happy at work. I thought that was work. And then I've gone on my hero's journey, and I've awakened parts of me, which is like my self-employed part, my creative part, which I never thought existed when I was in my 9 to 5. So I've had that transformation. And then the road back was when I awakened, when I was like, oh my God, there's a different way. And so it was me when I was part of me was when I was becoming a coach. And so I'm becoming a career coach and helping others. So what happens is, number 12 is you return with the elixir to the ordinary world. So I came back with the tools of coaching to people, and I was like, oh my God, guys, you should, and positive psychology as well. It's like, oh my God, you should, this positive psychology, this transformation. And, you kind of bang on about your transformation because you think it's just been amazing and you can help people. But the reason it's really hard is because people are still in that kind of sleepy land. They're still in the ordinary world. They don't realize they need to change. Some of my clients are like, well, work is work. You're not meant to enjoy it or love it. They have things that are keeping them from hearing me. They're unaware. And so that's why it's really hard, because you're trying to speak to people and you're trying to say, I can help you, but they're not listening. So you have to kind of be patient and then find different ways of being heard or helping or just being as well. So that's a whole other identity. It's just like, okay, so who am I then in this part of the journey? Because I don't want to be a preacher, and be like,
We all know that kind of person who come back from the retreat or the personal development weekend or the whatever, and they know a lot of knowledge, but they haven't really assimilated it yet.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of pyramid marketing. Well, we've all heard friends who've just like, oh my God, join this pyramid marketing.
Yeah. So in terms of then someone going through a coaching journey, they like I find a lot of my work happens in this place. The person my client has been facing their shadows and working through stuff, and we've made quite a lot of progress, and they've come to this realization that you still have to go back home at night. You're still living with your partner or your kids, or maybe you're still going back to work. There's a whole bunch of the world that seems like it's the same, but you're different now. How do you use this methodology to help with that?
I mean, it's different for different people as well, because sometimes it's a peaceful thing that like, oh, great, I didn't have to change the world. Sometimes because my clients are, the first half of the journey, that's where we really do the work. And so a lot of them just get relief as well. So their journey back is, it's not as, not something they need to navigate as much. It is if you have then gone into self-employment and like drastically then change your world, but say your friends are the same. That's where I see my work. Anyone that's gone self-employed or freelance and then they've changed so much, but their friends are still 9 to 5, or they still got their school friends and they're still living in that world, and no one wants to talk about personal development with them. And so that duality is quite hard. But then that is your network, that is your then your next hero's journey begins. And then you think of, okay, so what do I do now? What happens here? You have to answer some questions, but it fades like that, I say in a good way. So there isn't that whole big burning awareness of like, how do I live this life again? It's the novelty does sink in. You kind of your new identity settles in, and you then know how to be in this world.
I just one of my earlier guests is Sar, who he talks to us about coming out in the 1980s, having been raised in a Jewish kibbutz in Israel.
Oh wow!
So his story is amazing, and I can't wait till when my episode with him goes live. But I discussed with him, it's like there's this whole idea of the hero's journey. He was really interested in this because there are just so many parallels. Like he knew inside for so long. And I was thinking about this also in the context of people who are feeling uncomfortable with their gender identity or their sexual orientation. Or there's so many points at which you can know something's not quite right inside, you don't quite fit with the world inside, and then when you go through the processes and various changes of coming to terms with what is inside you, and then coming back to the world to tell them to tell everyone else who you are now and what you need or what you would like, or what's like what is going to happen next. Like it's such a process can happen. I love the way you described it earlier. Like a lot of it is below the surface, like it's you might not see, you might look any different. There's a ton of different happening inside.
Absolutely. And it is hard coming back, and then you've changed, and then you're like, how do I fit in? But I think here what really helps is finding your tribe. Again, other people who've had that transformation, other people who've been on that journey. I mean, just really a simple way, if someone's gone on a fitness journey, they then, when they come back, they sometimes really find it quite hard, for example, if they completely turn their life around, find it quite hard to have that same routine of like ordering junk food on Fridays and having binge everything else. They do then think, okay, so how do I balance this? And you find your fitness friends then, and you then have to be with your partner and then be like, okay, I'm not ordering that junk food. And then that's part of another kind of test of where you grow. You know how to say what you want, and that other person can react how they react, and then but you still remain solid within who you are. But with new identities, when they form, it is just kind of a new skin. You're trying to work it as well, like how do I act? What's good? What's assertive? What's positive? What's not? Where does the boundaries kind of end? And so it is a process. For sure.
For sure. I'm loving as well, like this, the whole idea of social support, which the research shows is a very big aspect of recovery after trauma, or of post-trauma growth, or just bouncing, like resilience. It's a huge element of resilience as well. Is this, like, it's such an important thing that in psychology it gets two capital S's, you know, social support. And the one aspect within that is this idea of the expert companion, which is like the mentor, the guide, the someone who is befriending you and walk alongside you. And I definitely see myself, I think you probably are one as well. Like in our work, we walk alongside, we're a companion. We hold a lot of expert knowledge, but the client is always the expert on their life and what they want, where they've been, where they want to go, all that kind of stuff. So there's this, that's a huge aspect of social support, is like tapping into the experts around you, whether they know they're experts or not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, within coaching, it's like we as coaches know that our role is going to end in the client's journey, and so therefore you are then always kind of not equipping them per se, but you are all encouraging the network and saying, is it there? Because you know you're going to be it's done when we're not needed.
But that like with the tribe, I love how you describe that, because I was just reading a paper recently about deprescribing. So this idea of that we're all over prescribe psychiatric medications, particularly in America, particularly in the West. And there's studies done on how do we deprescribe? How do we, because it's not just a case of stop taking those drugs. And one element that I love to read coming through in the research is the huge impact of social support, of engaging with other people who've been on the same path, on the same journey, you know, who have got like this a peer level support. They're not expert, they're not elevated above you, they're not your doctor or someone who speaks for you, but just another fellow traveler. And that's very powerful in helping people effectively move through and come off some of these drugs that they've been through. No, you know, it happened that they ended up on them, but they now need to be off them healthily.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it makes sense with the Alcoholics Anonymous as well. They've got the whole sponsor as well, and that's how it works, because it is a process of coming off as well, for sure.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah. So with the hero's journey, and with people listening to this, really getting a picture of, or certainly I'm getting much fuller picture of just how the people around you are reflecting part of your identity. They're reflecting who you are before you start the journey, and then you will come back again, and you may actually kind of upgrade or change or move through some people who belong to that old part of your life. But you're also picking up new friends, new acquaintances, new tribe along the way.
Absolutely. And the friendship piece is a big one. It really is. Like we need to talk about friendships and networks as well, because you know, because a lot of people talk about it in my coaching, you know, that they're friends, and whether I can hear whether it's supporters or they keep people stuck in kind of the same habitual behaviors that the people are afraid to break, because they think, well, that's tradition, we've always done this, you know. But you know, life is about growth, and we need to evolve. And so that's why on the journey, you know, you've got the meeting the mentor, and then you've got your allies. So constantly along the way, you are finding people to help you with different parts of the journey, different parts of you, different that, so that you can then, I mean, this is a whole probably whole big other kettle of fish of just like different identities and social identities, because we don't have one identity, we show up differently. And kind of the more robust your network is, that's not to say you go out all the time, you know. I'm a social introvert myself. It's like the more robust your network is, the more you discover parts and elements of you. And you know, sometimes your friends can come on the journey with you, your friends, but if they don't, it's no biggie. Maybe they will in some years to come.
Wow, I love that. And just the whole, that it's a cycle, that it's a helix, that it's an evolving, moving, you know, we're not a journey with a sense of I must get to somewhere, but that the whole point is the journey. That's what we're on. And that's, I think, what's very strong in the Jungian, like that life is every day. That's what you're living every day is life. Like you're not a place to get to, or a point to get to, or a thing to achieve, or a goal. They all belong inside the nice structures of the ego. It's very important to the ego, and it helps us, you know, navigate the rules in which we live. but really there's a huge subconscious part of life from a Jungian point of view, which is to experience life in all the pain and the sadness, the joys, all of it, and the kind of technicolor of life. So I think this model is to me, this model is so comforting. I can pick it up and go, oh, hang on a minute, look where I'm at right now.
Yeah, oh, it really is. And because I do a number of workshops on different topics, and career clarity, career change. But I also do the hero's journey, and it's one that I've noticed when we're doing it live or on a retreat. Afterwards, people just want to talk about it. It's such a rich one, and they're like, yeah, it makes sense, and it just really, really promotes kind of discussion and hope. A lot of the time, like hope, and they're like, okay, maybe I'm a hero.
I love it. I love it. Well, look, thank you so much for bringing this to life. It's always so delicious to get just to listen to you talk about this. It really is your mastermind topic. You're very, very skilled. Where can people find you? Where can people get more of this kind of stuff from you?
Yes, please find me. Dina Grishin, which is my name. So on Instagram, on LinkedIn, my website is the same as my name, Dina Grishin, Grishin, not the author Grishin. And my newsletter, that's where I show up most consistently. That is where to find me. But thank you for having me, Kate. I'm so excited that you've created this podcast, because I know you've got so much knowledge. You're constantly reading and just about so many things that I am going to be a loyal subscriber for sure.
Thank you very much. No, it's really cool. Well, your links and stuff we'll put into the show notes, so everything will be there for people to be able to find. Also, images for the hero's journey, any other cool stuff that you think would be useful for us to look at. It'll all be on the show notes. So thank you very, very much.
Imagine. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.